Thank you for being here. I am so happy to be doing another live episode with you all for the Holistic Me podcast. Please feel free to drop a comment. I'm going to try and keep tabs on what is happening within both platforms. Okay? As I keep doing this, I'm just going to assume that I'm going to keep getting better. How's that? All right, so let me pull up my notes. Thank you to everybody that submitted questions for today's live. I actually have one question from last week's live that didn't really make it into the poll. I just received it too late, and so I want to make sure that I cover it in this week's Wellness Wednesday Q&A. So that question is, why does acupuncture sometimes hurt in some areas but not others? Great question. This is because some areas are naturally more sensitive. So we have what we consider to be our yin side of the body and our yang side of the body. The yin side is our softer inner side, okay? So the front of our body, the inside of our arms, right? The inner leg, all of that, the skin is more supple, it's softer, right? And therefore can also be more sensitive. Now, also, areas like our hands, feet, and face can be a little bit more sensitive. Our body is covered in what's called dermatomes, right? And that's where we can find basically like the sensory portion of our nervous system. And so there are more sensory type nerves within these areas, and so you can have more sensation in those areas. So again, hands, feet, and face tend to be the most sensitive, but it can also be the case on these softer sides as well. On the yang side of the body, the back of the arms, our back side, the back of our legs, or outer side of our legs, these are all, the skin is a little bit tougher, it's a little stronger, and so tends to be less sensitive. All right. Now, the other thing too that can cause some sensitivity when it comes to acupuncture is the needle insertion itself. Some different types of needles that are available to us as acupuncturists, not that they have anything on them, but just on a microscopic level, depending on just the way it's produced, it can have more of a grabbing, so to speak, to the skin. Okay, so it's our job as acupuncturists to really find a needle that works for us. There are so many brands out there, but I have found for myself ones that are very that are strong but also flexible. They're all hair thin, and the types of responses over the years that I've seen with certain needle brands or needle types on whether people are more sensitive to one versus another, and kind of adjusting to that. So that's one thing. The other thing too is the acupuncturist style of insertion, how they do it. Are they freehanding the needle insertion? Are they using a tube? Are they doing a slower insertion versus a faster insertion? And also, what kind of manipulation techniques are they using? Now, I would add this though, acupuncture in and of itself should not be painful, okay? And that goes for even dry needling techniques, okay? Technically, dry needling is part of acupuncture. It's within our classical texts, right? Needling into an area or site of pain that isn't necessarily an acupuncture point, like an official acupuncture point location, is still dry. Like that is what we consider dry needling, right? Inserting the needle into an area of pain. Now, depending on who you go to for this technique and their level of training, you may find more discomfort with individuals that have less training, such as people within other fields, physical therapy, chiropractors, things like that, that may not have as much training. They're usually taking 1 or 2 weekend courses that give them the certification to do so. And then us acupuncturists have a 4-year master's degree in acupuncture. So, so the level of training and precision can be different. And so the manipulation techniques also vary based on your training or your schooling that you had, even for us acupuncturists. Um, and so it can just vary, but overall, acupuncture in and of itself should not be painful, but you will experience certain sensations. So you can have some tingling or electrical traveling type of sensation in some areas. You can have feeling like a swirling sensation or heaviness. Those are all normal sensations, and it's just the movement of energy through that particular point or area of the body or even the channel. And so I find that when certain areas are more blocked, they tend to have more of that sensation that comes up. Okay, and so if you have blockages within your system at either anatomically within certain areas of your body or within certain channels or meridians, then you may experience more sensation until that blockage becomes completely cleared and the energy is able to move more freely through the body. All right. The other time I tend to see people have more sensitivity overall is actually in the change of seasons, oddly enough, or maybe not oddly enough, but just as a side note, I tend to find that people will notice that they're a little bit more sensitive or they're feeling the needles a little bit more, having those different sensations that I just described a little bit more than they normally do because maybe they're in a period of we're just doing maintenance work, so things are really just comfortable, everything feels really relaxed. And then usually for maybe, depending on how frequently they come, certain times when the seasons are changing and transitioning energetically, the body's energy is also shifting with that change of season. And so you can experience some increased sensitivity at those times as well. That's just something that I've noted in my own practice. So yeah, I hope that answers your question about sensitivity in certain areas with acupuncture. Now, some of the other questions, I just want to make sure that this is still all good. See if there's any comments coming up. I don't see anything on this page, and I don't see. Okay, cool. So we're doing pretty well. I don't see any new questions coming up. But if you have a question, please feel free to pop it into the comments. All right, and hopefully I will see it. All right, I'm gonna keep going here. Where did that go? All right, so the next question is why do I get acupuncture on my feet or hands when I have back pain or other concerns that are not affecting my feet or hands? That's another great question. I get this question all the time when I am working in my office with patients, and especially if they're new and have never had acupuncture before. And I'll go to their feet or go to their hands in the early part of maybe putting some needles in when they first get on the table. They're like, why are you down there? Like, that's not where I have pain. And it really has to do with the fact that a lot of classical Chinese medicine is image-based medicine. Okay, so what does that mean? We have various microsystems within our body, right? So we have our full body as it is, right? But then places like our ears, our hands, and our feet are also representations of our body. So if you think about reflexology on the hands or feet, you can represent the whole body within those areas. The same thing goes for our limbs and our trunk. And so we have a system called the five bows. So the five bows are your four limbs and the trunk. Those are the five separate bows. And in each bow, we can represent the whole body, right? So there's that aspect. And so with that particular view of classical Chinese medicine and the image-based work, you can represent the hand or the feet as the head. And so therefore, in that case, the wrist or the ankle would then be the neck area. As you move along the forearm or lower leg, you would have the shoulders and the back. The elbows and the knees always represent the midsection. All right, so our middle or hip area. And then as we get into the upper arm or the thighs, we're now getting into the leg portion of the body on that representation, and then the shoulder or the hip being the feet. Now, in some cases too, we can actually reverse that order. And again, the elbows and the knees still continue to be the midsection or hip area. And it's really, it's a system that I use so often to find not only are the points in those areas actually related to those body areas as far as their actions are concerned, but we're also able to find mirror points, right? Points within those areas that mirror that anatomical location and will be sensitive to the touch. So you may not necessarily, you could be having back pain, lower back pain, and you may not necessarily have any pain in your forearm, but when I go in and I press and I feel around the area, you might say, oh yeah, that's pretty sensitive there. I didn't realize that hurt. And it's not that you have pain in and of itself in the arm, it's that it's mirroring that area of your body and showing us, right, telling us, communicating that it needs some attention there. And so we can access that on all four limbs and the trunk in and of itself as well. So the trunk we could then break up into the various regions as well without the limbs being part of it. So it's pretty cool, in my opinion. So, and then the other thing too is that a lot of the channels, so for the back specifically, and that's mentioned in this question, the channels that run down the back also go down the leg and to the feet, right? They go all the way to the toes. And so we can still treat the channel within those areas, and those points will have a greater effect or an effect on the spine as well. And then in my own practice, I tend to do a two-sided treatment anyway, so we would at some point go to the back side, right, and work on locally on the area as well, applying a more orthopedic style technique to those areas. And so and just a little bit, okay? Let me finish up. Let's see. So thank you anyone who's joining me. If you're watching this as a replay or as the live episode on the YouTube channel after it's been posted, leave a comment. Let me know what questions you have for future episodes, for future live episodes. I do this every week, Wednesdays. Right now, the current time that I'm doing it at is 1:30 p.m. Eastern. So hopefully you can join me on one of the live events or live recordings here. I think it's just fun to be able to have conversation with people and see what everyone wants to talk about. Always check out my Facebook page or my Instagram to post questions in advance too, or you can direct message me on any of those platforms. I would love to hear from you and know what you want to talk about, because this is all about answering your questions and being here for you. So All right, let's see. My next question that I have is, what is your number one tip for people who want to start their journey with holistic self-care? Awesome. So the my top tip, okay, the one thing I definitely make sure to teach all of my patients is breath work. Begin with your breath. Start there. It's something that you have complete control over, okay? It's something that is part of you. You have to breathe anyway. And it's such an important part of creating healthy patterns. We tend as a society to be shallow breathers. I've mentioned this in previous episodes, probably in my breath awareness episode that I did earlier in the season. You can check back and see it has breath awareness in the title. So you can check back and listen to that if you want to learn more. But it's something that we all have to do, right? But we tend to, as a society, be very shallow breathers and not use our full lung capacity. And if you observe children, young children, and babies, you'll see that they are naturally belly breathers. As they breathe, their chests and their bellies expand, okay, and contract with on exhalation. So it's just a part of life. We are meant to be deep belly breathers. But over time, for whatever reason, learned behavior, we don't continue to breathe that way. At some point in our life, we stop breathing in that way, and maybe it's once we get into grade school and like the constant sitting and other stressors that start to come into play. I'm not really sure the age that it, where that changes, but it is something that is very common in our society. So start with the breath. Don't try to do a whole lot of different things. Don't try to bring a bunch of different self-care practices into your life at the same time. It's only going to create frustration. You're going to try to make everything work or schedule everything in, and then you're going to feel overwhelmed. Start with one thing and slowly integrate others as you go on. So start with your breath. Make that a daily practice. It can be just 1 minute, okay? And then later, after a few days, do 1 minute twice a day, or do 2 to 3 minutes for like a single meditation practice, or break it up into chunks throughout your day so that you can have points of refocusing and realigning with yourself in your own as you go through your day. So maybe after morning, afternoon, and night, creating a 1 minute breath practice and slowly increasing it to multiple minutes and building up to a longer time frame that maybe you practice once a day and then incorporate very short, brief time frames at various parts of your day later. And then bring in, okay, let me look at where I am nutritionally. What do I need to shift or change here? Look at your exercise or your movements, right? What are you doing to move your body? And incorporate that. And it just grows and expands. How is your home environment? Is it reflecting how you feel inside, or is your outside is your outside a reflection of your internal environment? Are you feeling stressed and overwhelmed and chaotic, and your house is a mess? What can you do within your environment to start shifting that energy pattern in your life? Okay, so start where you are. Begin where you are right now. Okay, don't try to do all of the things that you want to do all at once. Okay, again, that creates overwhelm for our system, and then that frustration and that overwhelm will lead to not continuing the practice. So start with your breath, the most basic thing of all, and then check in with yourself as you move along. Check in and ask yourself where you're at, and slowly integrate these different things one at a time into your life. And over time, you'll find, and it might happen faster than you might think, you may be able, as that energy starts to shift in your life, you may be able to integrate things faster and faster as you move along. But at the end, you'll see that you've created a healthier pattern and been able to maintain more of these practices within your life, rather than derailing quickly because it's too much at once and easy to fall off the bandwagon in that case. So let's see, where am I at here? All right, and then I have one other question. I don't even know how long have I been recording here. Does it tell me? Does it say? How long have I been going live? Oh, 24 minutes already. Cool. The first 5 is probably me trying to figure this all out. All right, so thank you for bearing with me through that. And the last question, let me get some water here. This is a good one. When should I see an acupuncturist? What can you treat? Or what can an acupuncturist treat? Now, if your local acupuncturist office is open, mine currently is not. I am only seeing patients virtually at this time. So I am doing virtual guided acupressure sessions with patients and doing distant Reiki healing and other virtual work. You can certainly work with me in that capacity, but if you're looking for an in-person acupuncturist, check in to see who's open in your area, but you can see them now. You don't have to wait until something is wrong. It's actually, acupuncture and Chinese medicine are intended really to be preventative in nature, right? It is preventative medicine that we are practicing, but it's also really good at treating whatever your current health state might be or many health concerns. But please don't leave it as a last resort. I try to stress this with my patients, especially if they are coming to me as a last resort. They've tried everything, and now years later, maybe 10 years down the line, they're finally giving acupuncture a try. They figure, why not? I've tried everything else. Let's throw this in the bucket and see what happens. And that's all good and well. I truly appreciate people coming around and trying a different approach, more holistic and natural approach. But really, this should be our first resort, okay? Because, again, it's intended to be really great. It's exceptional at being preventative medicine in and of itself. And so we can work with the more chronic conditions or long-term injuries, things like that. It is possible for acupuncturists and Chinese medicine practitioners to help you and make you feel better and create some healing for you, right? But as a condition progresses or stays present, it takes us longer to see results, okay? So it's not that it won't work, it's just that it's going to take more work to see the results that you're looking for. And many people, I think right now, they're coming to acupuncture as a last resort, and they also want it to be a quick fix, which isn't great to have that mindset, because you've gone this long with the condition, with whatever the concern might be, and now you want to, if nothing else has worked, you want a quick fix from something that is going to work naturally with your body and generate healing from within. So it's going to take time. The injury or the concern didn't get to where it is without, like, overnight, right? If it's been years, then you need to allow time to see some change happen. My husband is dancing in the sidelines. So where was I? But as far as what can we treat, we can treat nearly all concerns from a Chinese medicine or acupuncture perspective. We're not basing solely on your Western diagnosis. We're basing it off of your full picture, your pattern of everything in your life, your whole health history. We take it all into account, and we figure out where you fall within what your pattern is and treat according to that. Okay, yes, the diagnosis that you might have from your primary care or other specialists will help guide us, but your individual treatment is going to be specific to you based on your full pattern, your full picture. So it's not a cookie cutter approach. You're not going to get a one size fits all treatment. It's going to be based specifically to your needs and to what your full health history has looked like over the years. So I hope that answers everybody's questions. These were good ones today. Thank you for submitting them. I appreciate you all. Please look out for another post so that you can submit your questions for next week. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you can stay up to date with all of the new episodes coming out. This one is aired specifically on Facebook and YouTube. It's simulcasted so that we can get the conversation going. Let me just double check, make sure there aren't any comments that have come in. Let's see. I don't see any comments there. That's all right. All good. Okay, no new questions. So please, if you're watching this as a replay after the fact, leave a comment with your questions. Leave a comment with just to say hi. I appreciate you just stopping in and watching, and I look forward to seeing what your questions are for next week. I'm super excited, and I will catch you all next time. Subscribe, follow on social media so that you can stay up to date on any announcements, and also reach me either through comments or direct message me your questions or topics that you want to hear more about on other podcast episodes. Catch you all next time. Have a great rest of your day.